going to call this the meeting of the Richmond Exempted Village School District Board of Education back into regular session. He said,
okay.
Yeah, on the phone. So at 6 o'clock, 6:01. So the first item for consideration is the agenda. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the following approve the agenda as presented.
Also move. Second.
Okay. Roll call.
All right, Mr. Welch?
Yes.
Mrs. Story?
Yes.
Mr. Wood?
Yes.
Mr. Zimmerman?
Yes.
Mr. Dufault?
Yes. Okay, we're gonna skip recognition and awards for the time being, waiting on the award recipient, and we'll start with superintendent's report.
Could you know what the awards and recognitions are?
The best part of
That's
the
part of the
agenda.
agenda, right, so we gotta have that. So, thank you, Mrs. Zimmerman, superintendent's report today, great day, safety day. We started this a few years ago. I find there to be great benefit in it. There are things schools, staff, principals just don't have time to do without some time built in. We brought in the Claremont County Prosecutor's Office today, and they gave us several accolades. We're one of the few districts actually bringing people in, which is what the law says actually. They did back-to-back incredible sessions, child sexual abuse training. If you had all the states in the United States, if you think where is Ohio with sexual abuse reports for juveniles, you know, out of 50 states, where would you think we are?
Fourth.
We are 5. We are 5. The Texas, the Floridas, the New Yorks, the Californias, Ohio. It's not good. The second session was the cyberbullying, online safety. They had some interesting points that things really escalated during COVID. People were home, a lot more time to do bad things. It's not really tapered off, even though we've gone kind of back to normal. So it was a great session, just fantastic, and I think hopefully our staff had saw value in it. Some of the other things their abilities did, they reviewed their ALICE drills, they had just training on Stop the Bleed, proactive discipline, really great for our bus drivers and our food service workers. Sometimes we don't think about them, but they see those kids every day, sometimes at their best, sometimes at their worst, so I thought that was really good. AED refresher, fire extinguisher training. I've been on this planet for 61 years. I don't think I've ever used a fire extinguisher. I hope when the time comes, I know how to do it. I should have went to that training. So, a really good, very productive day, and I know it's a burden on our parents to have the kids home an extra day, but we weren't just sitting around twiddling our thumbs. Those are things we talked about, and a big thanks to the Claremont County Prosecutor's Office. They are fantastic. They're great. They're great. And Harry Goldsmith, our school resource officer, facilitated it. It was wonderful. On Friday, the state released the school district report cards. As we continue, New Richmond continues to show just tremendous growth and improvement. We received 4 out of 5 stars, which means we exceed state expectations. Our goal is to get to 5. I want to give a shout out to Monroe. They got a 5 out of 5 on closing the gap. Also on progress. And Dura High School got 5 out of 5 on graduation. So the data metrics, it's on our dashboard, so to speak, and at our work session in the first Thursday in October, you're going to hear more about this. But I was very, very pleased with that. 2 more things is all of our buildings are going to have an attendance goal to improve its student attendance. We can't teach them if they're not here. So all those things, and it was really Mr. Shanklin and Mr. Greason kind of came up with this idea, and I think I'm sure some districts do this. Instead of a parent calling in to report their child absent, they can go to our website and fill out a form. The beauty of that is, you're a parent, you're on your rush, you need to get to work, you can't make a phone call, but you can fill this form out, and then there's digital proof that a parent called, or email, or fill the form out as opposed to just the call. The parent then gets a responding email back. Thank you for your email about your child being absent today. So kind of circumventing kind of shenanigans that might be taking place. We think parents find this to be very convenient. Mr. Shankman has a brief video prepared at the end of his session, but we think it's going to be really, really good. And lastly, of course, this is a big week for us, homecoming week. The parade, went to that a few years ago, having it on Thursday. biggest crowd I've ever seen last year was tremendous, so hopefully it'll cool down to be under 100, which would be awesome for those walking in the parade. And of course the game on Friday, the dance on Saturday, the alumni dinner, so it's big festivities here for New Richmond. So, Mr. Zimmerman, that is the superintendent's report.
All right, no public participation. Right, and next up is committee reports, and Mr. Dufall is gonna talk to us about Grant.
Had a couple meetings since our last meeting here, Grant, on the 22nd of August. We had a meeting, Mr. Perry, superintendent, did some updates for 2025 enrollment. At the time of the presentation, it was 527 students at Grant, of which about 20% of those have special education needs, so we're dealing with that too. Campus updates, we're going through some building changes up there. We took 3 classrooms, consolidated them into 2 larger classrooms to make more room for the auto tech, or added some more space in the auto tech and construction tech mezzanine levels too, put some classrooms in there. So a lot of changes going there. New stations added to cosmetology lab, high velocity, low speed fans added to auto tech, construction tech labs, completed parking lot expansion and restriping, received some new construction tech equipment, a mini excavator, skid steer, scissor lift, Series 170 and 190 3D printers through grant funding. Discussed and had pictures of the 2 satellite programs at Bethel Tate and also New Richmond. Discussed the graduation, technical skills attainment, industry credentials attainment, and placement rates. Approved some resignations and new hires at the meeting also. Revised the 24-25 school calendar. Approved a contract with ASM Global for the rental of the Truist Arena for the 2025 graduation. Approved a memorandum of understanding with the 5-Star Driving Academy. Notified of potential TIF that Bethel's considering for, I guess they're putting Dunkin' Donuts up there. Scheduled a special meeting for the 12th for expansion update and approval of the GMP guaranteed maximum price for the project, expansion project we're getting ready to, started now. And we were also notified by Mr. Perry, he's been asked to join the Claremont Chamber Board of Directors, so he's going to be participating in that. We had our meeting on the 12th, on the 12th here just last week. We met with representatives from Elevar Design and also Conjure Construction, reviewed the budget for the Grant Expansion project, set the guaranteed maximum price that we'll pay for the project is $10 below the goal, at $9 million. $10. Send it back to the state. We have to send it back.
Right.
They need it. $9,781,556 is that expansion project. We also did some work on appropriation, reviewing appropriation for this year, and then executive session. As far as upcoming events go for Grant, the 7th of this month, we just had a fall community day, then a special board meeting. We've got a board meeting the 19th, this Thursday. The 20th, groundbreaking event for the project at 9 a.m. The 5th of October, Gary Broadwell Memorial Golf Outing, and then on the 11th, the Grant Give Back program involving 341 of the students up there. They'll be completing 39 different projects in our feeder communities. So hopefully that day will be about 75 and sunny.
Right.
That's it for Grant.
Wow.
Okay, athletic council historian.
Yes, Athletic Council met on August 29th. We hadn't had a meeting in quite some time, so long agenda, lots of good discussion. We first visited the issue of the secondary campus, combining the athletic director's responsibilities for not only the high school, but the middle school, having removed those responsibilities away from the assistant principal at the middle school, and ensuring there was sufficient support for that role, given the increased workload. We talked at length about the digital surveys for parents and assuring that we want those surveys going out every season. Just a shout out to parents, they are issued through final forms, they are digital, and they are anonymous. And we really want those surveys to come back each season. We're also looking at adding those surveys to students not just parents. And then we discussed aptG, say it right. And again, some of Garth's efforts to build a separate athletic webpage that will be linked to the high school webpage, being completed sometime this summer, or September, maybe you'll have an update on that. But it's another one of those items where coaches can have access and do some posting, once they're trained. Talked about our facilities, in particular the baseball fields, the press box, and our rental of those facilities and how that plays into us being able to update things when we need to. Had a discussion about the vans and the potential need for additional vans for athletics, where transports for sports with 8 kids or less. We have an awful lot, even if it's a sport that has more than 8 kids, as they go through the tournaments, and there's a reduction in kids participating there. So exploring some options there.
Just want to update you on that. We were successful. We got a used van. The athletic department put in half the money. The district put in half the money, and so it'll be here imminent soon.
Excellent.
So we're gonna have another school van to use.
Excellent.
Yes.
All right. And then some discussion again back to facilities around the field house and making sure that it is clean and safe for our athletes attending various things down at the field house.
Good. All right, policy committee, Mr.
Well,
Wood.
compared to that report, mine's very brief. So the policy committee met on September 9th, and really just 2 items, and the reason why it's brief is because both the items are on the agenda for tonight. Number 1 was the OC sick leave MOU, and also new policies to be considered for tonight for first reading. So those are 2 items for September 9th.
Okay, curriculum and instruction committee update, we met on September 5th, and again, we have the items we discussed are on the agenda for later, the pacing guides for science curriculum, it's the second reading for them, and then 2 books for the English department at the high school that we're reviewing for approval. And the last on the list, facilities, Mr. Wells.
That would be me. So we met, I forget what date, I think it was last week. I apologize not having the date. We reviewed and discussed the 5-year maintenance and capital improvement budget. And then the second item on the agenda, which is on tonight as well, is we reviewed and ranked the architecture firms that will be building in our new spaces at the middle school and the high school. So that was the only 2 items on the agenda for that day.
Okay. All right, next item on the agenda is first reading of policy.
Thank you, Ms. Zimmerman. So for those joining us for the first time, maybe online or here tonight for the first time, we do have a slew of policies. A large majority of these are very minor cleanup language. For those who are really interested in seeing what they are, whenever we do these, there will be a short summary of each policy. And so if you open that up, it'll say special volumes 421 and 422. But it'll go through these policies and sometimes give you a brief, sometimes a little bit more of an explanation of what the policies are that are being changed. I find this to be very helpful when I talk about these, kind of a crib sheet. So I won't go through, there's 27 of them, kind of got a double hit of policy, but there's a couple of them I want to mention. 41 and 31, 2008, 31, 2008. So when you're looking at these, when you see the green, that is new language, and you can right away zone in on that. Like I said, this is a little bit more than minor cleanup language. So what this does, and we already do this, if you're going to coach for us for co-curricular, extracurricular activities as a part of receiving your approval activity permit, you have to receive cardiac arrest training and also a mental health training course that already is embedded in what we expect our coaches and advisors to do. There we go. Some of these I giggle. I think they're funny because there's probably a story behind this. But probably policy 5330. It says that now students shall be permitted to possess and self-administer over-the-counter sunscreen. I didn't know it was a reason we need to have a law for it, but now there's a law that kids are allowed to have their own sunscreen, and we would not want any of those little kids to get sunburned. So I'm sure there's a great story behind that. When you see a policy like 5337, if it's all red, it's a brand new policy. So for example, we have one this time in care of students with active seizure disorders. It's a brand new policy, but again, great leadership, Mr. Fry, we're already doing all these, we're already implementing this policy. So one more I want to point out tonight, again, these are all just for first reading, and I'd like our principals and Mr. Shane so forth will really, I want to publicize this. It's 7440. And this talks about safety and security and the security of your facilities. So in the green, and we're doing, I think, all these except for one. And these are all things that the state law is saying you can do these things if you so choose, boards of education. Sometimes a school system will implement a safety change that may feel draconian, and a staff member or a parent will say, well, what gives you the authority to do this? Well, this law and this policy gives us the authority to do this. But the main thing I want to point out was this last paragraph right here. Staff and students and visitors who intentionally circumvent, interfere with, or disable security measures, systems, or devices may be subject to discipline, up to and including termination of employment for an employee, suspension or expulsion from work or school for a student, and they may also face criminal charges. So I think what we're seeing is the uptick of events that continue to take place around the state, around the country, and I 100% get it. I understand. I'm not saying this is a bad thing at all. This is, if I pick one thing that I could forever get rid of, is propping doors open. And I know you're coaching or you're doing something after school and a kid's coming in late, you can't prop open doors. You just can't. And that would be an example of what that would be. You propped open a door, somebody had bad intentions, gets into your building and does something bad, we got 3 kinds of trouble. So it's first reading for this policy, second reading will be in October, Mr. Zimmer.
So, Tracy, just a question on that.
Yep.
For this prop open policy, once it's approved, how will students be advised or?
And that's why I say I need our principals really hammer this.
Okay.
Is their things not really propping, their things, because if Jill, Dr. Hollingsworth has said this probably 100 times, our kids are so nice. They'll see somebody coming up, it's raining, they're hey, come on in, let you in. You just can't do that. You can't gotta go to the front office. So, but we need our principals to really hit this and this, and then if a staff member sees a kid do this, you can't do that. You can't let in somebody. If they don't have the badge, I like when I'm walking around like the Lucas Quarterman Road and they're doing a great job there, because I'll walk into classrooms, you say, hey, everybody know who Mr. Miller is? Well, you know he's okay because he's got the badge. So they're like referring back to that, so it's okay, you see the badge. So I like that. Does that help?
Yeah, it's great timing. I've heard some expressed concerns about that in the community about students propping doors. It's specifically at the high school, so I just want to make sure the students know
Yeah.
there are consequences.
Yep.
So they'll be out there for the community to read between now and the next meeting, when we'll vote on them at the second reading. All right, RFQ resolution.
Yeah, as was mentioned in the facilities committee, it allows us to enter into an agreement for architectural services for the building project, the Appalachian grant. We went through the process, and just to drill that down a little bit, this is the resolution. 4 companies took out packets in terms of they were interested. Only 2 returned. It was VSWC Architects and Fanning and Howey submitted proposals to be considered. Both were fantastic. Our facilities committee, we ranked them and just really did a nice job. We couldn't go wrong with either one, and we gave the slight edge to VSWC Architects. And tonight we are at, and for those who are interested, the last part of this is the ranking sheets of the scores between the 2. Again, they were fantastic. So tonight will allow us to enter into an agreement with VSWC Architects with the committee's #1 selection.
Okay, it is recommended that the Board of Education approve the RFQ resolution as presented.
Also move.
I'll second.
Mr. Defoe, Ms. Stewart with the second. Discussion?
Zimmerman?
Yes.
Mr. Wooten?
Yes.
Mr. Wells?
Yes.
Mrs. Story?
Yes.
Mr. Dufaul?
Yes.
Our OPSI organization approached myself with this idea for a memorandum of understanding between us and the school district, allowing them to establish a sick bank. Our teachers have this in place. I think it's a great thing. The teachers administer it. The same thing is true with the OPSI, but it is not in the contract, so that's why it requires a memorandum of understanding. It's allowing them to create a sick bank. It's at zero cost to the district, and they manage it. And on here, you'll see the resolution, then also the forms that they intend to use.
It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the memorandum of understanding with OPSI Local 267 as presented.
So moved.
And Mr. Wood.
I'll second.
Second, Mr. Wooten. Any discussion? Okay, roll call.
All right, Mr. Dufaul?
Yes.
Mrs. Story?
Yes.
Mr. Wells?
Yes.
Mr. Wooten?
Yes.
Mr. Zimmerman?
Yes. All right, next item, amendment to the emergency management plan.
I feel like I'm talking a lot. I don't like this. I like this. So September 1st of every year, school buildings and school districts need to amend and change their emergency operation plans, which are submitted to the state of Ohio. And so what we have here is we've now included the language for the arming of staff according to House Bill 99. So what this does, this resolution recognizes that the board understands we amended our emergency operations plan to include this language.
Okay. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the resolution of amendment to the emergency management plan as presented.
Also move.
Mr. Dufaul.
Second.
Second, Mr. Wells. Any discussion?
Just for clarity, this is not changing anything that's been previously approved by the board, by vote of the board. This is simply saying we are publicly acknowledging
That is, thanks.
what has already happened.
Yeah, we just updated our plans, which is submitted to the state, which we do every September 1st. Nothing has changed.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, roll call.
All right, Mr. Zimmerman?
Yes.
Mr. Wells?
Yes.
Mrs. Story?
Yes.
Mr. Dufaul?
Yes.
Mr. Wooten?
Yes.
All right, calendar revision.
In unison with the changes that took place with the NRTO contract for our parents, that they can begin to plan now, there's gonna be an additional 3 days of where students are not in school, the staff will report, and what they'll see is we'll begin to push this out, Mr. Shanklin will. There is, elementary only on October 11th. Elementary only has a full day for parent-teacher conferences. The evening conferences were not enough, especially for the first round. There's gonna be a work day on October 18th for everybody, a work day on March 7th for everybody. So those are 3 changes from when the calendar was approved back in the summertime. October 11th, for just elementary, October 18th everybody, March 7th everybody. And this coincides with the NRTO recently completed negotiations.
Okay, it is recommended the Board of Education approve revisions to 24-25 school year calendar as presented.
Also move.
Second.
Ms. Story, the second. Any discussion? Election, we're off election day too, right?
The date's not been set yet.
Okay. But for November?
Oh, for November, yes, yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Any other discussion, questions? Okay. Roll call.
All right, Mr. Dufaul?
Yes.
Mrs. Story?
Yes.
Mr. Zimmerman?
Yes.
Mr. Wooten?
Yes.
Mr. Wells?
Yes.
Okay. Human resource items.
Human resources, the consent items, 1 parapro resignation, a couple staff members, showed proof of extra graduate work. We were fortunate to hire some great parapros to come work with our kids. Also substitutes. And the red names are new names brought forward to fill in for our coaching and advisors. High schools named their department chairs, or main campus. teachers, we need good mentors. We have those being asked for approval for pay. So curriculum work, and the ever-popular monthly standing item, science of reading reimbursement. And I'm pleased to announce that Mr. Pritchard said we have finally began to receive some reimbursement from the state of Ohio. So we can keep the lights on.
Okay. It is recommended the Board of Education approve items 13A through 13H.
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion? And just, one thing that I know people might ask this question about the mentors is the differences are based upon whether they're a new teacher or experienced teacher. So, just wanted to make sure everybody understood what the difference was there. Any other questions or discussion? Okay, roll call.
All right, Mrs. Story?
Yes.
Mr. Zimmerman?
Yes.
Mr. Wooten?
Yes.
Mr. Dufaul?
Yes.
Mr. Wells?
Yes.
Okay, next.
Yep, and going with the main campus concept, asking for an extra bump on the salary schedule for Mr. Foote. We did that for Mr. Stewart for taking on another building's responsibilities. He's currently at step 23, we're putting at step 24.
Okay, it is recommended the Board of Education revise the following for Mr. Foote from 23 to 24.
Also move.
Okay, Mr. Wheaton,
I'll second.
second, Ms. Story. Any discussion?
Again, I would just reiterate that this was, a consideration brought up in terms of the, capacity and the additional workload in the athletic subcommittee, recognizing that we've asked him to take on a considerable load, with some assistance, but not a whole lot of assistance. It's kind of a patchwork quilt right now, so.
Anybody else? Any other discussion, questions? Okay, roll call.
All right, Mr. Dufaul?
No.
Mrs. Story?
Yes.
Mr. Wells?
Yes.
Mr. Wooten?
Yes.
Mr. Zimmerman?
Yes. Treasurer's report, we'll give Mr. Miller a break.
Relax for a minute. Thank you, Mr. Zimmerman. Item A is the approval of the August regular board meeting minutes. August B is the approval of the facilities committee meeting minutes from August. And item C is the approval of the athletic council committee meeting minutes from August. Item D is approval of financial reports. Mr. Zimmer, thank you. 2024 report. August. Two items I'd like to point out here are we did receive our property tax settlement payment. We received two of these annually. It's $5.1 million. So we'll get about $10 million or so from local taxes. That's about average what we get. And I'm curious for New Richmond, we're about a 50-50 district. So we get about half of our funding locally and half of our funding from the state. It's really about 45-45, about 10% from federal grants, but it's about half and half. So that $10 million is about a little over half of what we get. The only other thing I would mention that would stand out here, and I think people always find it interesting, is we did get our casino payment. So we get two of those a year, and they're not very much money in my opinion. They're $67,000. We appreciate them. I think a lot of people think the school district get a lot more money from casino payments, but we do not. We get about $130,000 a year. So
That's what it's for.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the moral story?
I think there's a perception out there is a windfall of money if the schools give casinos and gambling. We do not. That's all I have for that report, financial report. Approval disposal. We do have some books that are being disposed of. We're being asking the Board of Education to dispose of those. Acceptance of donations. Locust Corner is getting has received a $1,000 gift card. Board authorization and approval to utilize that money to fund items for the Locust Corner Elementary Library. Item G is transfer of funds. We do this annually. We take $500,000 from the general fund and we push it over into the permanent improvement fund. Once once we move funds into permanent improvement, they're very restricted. They can only be used on capital projects, which have to be pulled back down. So 500,000 moves in each year. That's how we fund those capital projects for, you know, things you think, infrastructure, buildings, parking lots, roofs, so forth and so on, facilities. Item H is a new fund, 592. This is an accounting request for the Appalachian Grant. As those monies come in and we spend those monies, we will count all of those in a special fund for reporting and auditing purposes. Item H are confirming purchase orders. These are a little different this time. I'm sorry, item I. Item I, confirming purchase orders. These are late invoices. So we have purchase orders open for the end of the fiscal year, and then we have some invoices come after the fiscal year. We closed them because it was in the fiscal year they were open. So anyway, this is more just an accounting thing. The money's there. We just had to reopen new purchase orders. But since we have an invoice technically without purchase orders, we need to work with them on them. So most of the time I have somebody come and explain why they didn't write the requisition for everybody. This is the case. And item J. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
It is recommended that the Board of Education approve items 15A through item 15I.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Mr. Wood. Any discussion? Okay, roll call.
All right. Mrs. Story?
Yes.
Mr. Wood?
Yes.
Mr. Wells?
Yes.
Mr. Dufault?
Yes.
Mr. Zimmerman?
Yes. Okay, item 16 is CCIP federal funds review.
I brought a camera because it's sometimes a little difficult for you to put your neck around and see the screen behind you. This is an annual presentation that is required as a recipient of the federal funds. These are federal flow-through funds, and the first of which is our Title I fund, and we received $448,976, and we used those funds this year for reading teacher salaries in the 2 elementaries. That's 2 full-time equivalent of reading specialists. And then we use that to contract for instructional coaches with Hamilton County, HCESC, I'm sorry about that, to support our curriculum implementation. Part of the requirements, because it's Title I fund, federal flow-through funds, we've had to have set-asides for parochial schools that ask for funds from us because they're serving our children. So there's $2,000 worth of those services, and we have to set aside $5,000 for public school transportation of homeless. So that's a minor piece, but the most important initiative we have is our reading specialists in the 2 elementaries, and then our academic coaches to support our continued implementation of our new curriculum adoptions. Our Title IIA funds are supporting effective instruction. We use those funds to contract for and support the general fund in its use of instructional design specialists, technology coaches, and they support teachers and administrators in the use of technology and applications in our district. Our Title IV funds are used for data services, and we have a program called Panorama, and we use the M-Class Dibbles product for our elementary benchmark assessments. The Panorama piece is a warehouse of all of our data, so all of our student data from our MAP tests, our Dibbles testing, all of the behavior information that is posted through Public School Works, and all of their attendance and all of their grades are warehoused in one site that we can go in and type in a student's name and see historical data and see current data. it's pretty impressive. And, you know, we're becoming more and more a data-driven school district. We received $528,000 in Title 6B funds. Those are IDEA special education funds. We use those funds to offset the cost of services for related service personnel in our district, most of which is our speech language pathologists and our occupational therapists that work in every building. That amount is applied to our county bill, and the county provides those services to us. Finally, we receive a little bit of money for early childhood special education. It's a pittance. It's just shy of $9,000. We are required to serve kids ages 3 and 4 in our preschool when they have disabilities. We also have early childhood funds that we receive, and that grant has grown from $140,000 to now $215,000. So we're now, instead of funding 30 preschool students, we're funding 50. So that's a significant offset, and that, in addition to tuition, is really helping to make our preschool program, I'm not going to say self-sustaining, but it's close. It helps. It really does. It helps. Included on that last page, I thought was interesting for you to know, is our Title Low Income Percentages. That's our building ranking based upon free and reduced lunches. And our number one building with the highest percentage of free and reduced lunch is Locust Corner with 37.56%. And Monroe follows very closely with 35.51%. So when we split the district, we continue to see a very good balance between the two elementaries. And it wasn't always that way when we had New Richmond Elementary at 3 elementary schools with a high concentration of free-reduced lunch children at New Richmond Elementary. The middle school and the high school are very, very close to each other with 31%. That concludes the presentation. We always have to have the opportunity for anyone to send an email to Mr. Miller, Mr. Pritchard, or myself with ideas and thoughts about how we might use these funds. They're specifically designed for each grant. In terms of Title I is to support reading and math instruction. Title II is to be innovative and support positive instruction. Title IV is innovative innovative methodology, and we use that for our data management. And Title 6B is for our special needs kids. Any questions? It's fun, it's exciting, it helps. It's flow-through funds of about $1 million that this district appreciates.
I'll compliment Mr. Fry. We worked hard. This is a lot. You and I work together every year. The balances will typically increase and give us a little bit more as we move throughout the year. So we and I work together on that, and just making sure we always spend every penny on services, student supports. So there's a lot going on, and this is a compliance reason why he's here. But it's very appreciated.
Good stuff.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, academic report.
Good evening. We offer in our high school for our juniors and seniors a horror and literature and an advanced horror and literature course. And last year we approved those pacing guides for those 2 courses. So I'm bringing for first reading tonight 2 books that we would like to use to add to those pacing guides for those 2 courses. The first is Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. This is an 1886 Gothic horror novel by Scottish author Robert Louis Stevenson. It's a narrative about the complexities of science and the duplicity of human nature. The second one is called The Final Girl Support Group. This book was published in 2021, so obviously much more modern choice. Grady Hendricks is the author, asks audiences to suspend their disbelief with one provoking question. What if horror's classic cinematic final girls were real survivors of real crimes? And in this book, 6 of those young women, who are now older women, belong to a support group where they talk about the experiences that they had until someone starts wanting to do harm again. So I've read both of them. I think they're good choices for those 2 courses. So I'll have those available in the office if anyone would like to read them over the next month, and they'll come back next month for second reading. And then our second topic is just last month we presented our science pacing guides for first reading, and I'm bringing them tonight for second reading and approval.
Okay. Upon second reading of grades 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 science pacing guides, it is recommended the Board of Education adopt said pacing guides.
Also move.
Okay, Mr. Wooten.
Second.
Second, Mr. Dufault. Any discussion? And these are we've done these for all the other curriculum items throughout the time that you've been directing us there. So, and then the science, just explain why it took a little longer on the science, if you want to, for the.
We brought the science programs for approval earlier in the summer. With the middle school program that we adopted is based on the national science standards, and we reorganized those units to match the Ohio science standards. So we worked with a company to reorganize those and then put those in their online platform for our teachers. So it took a little bit of time to reorganize some of those units, but I think we have a great product now, and they're in their correct order for Ohio standards.
Okay. Roll call.
All right, Mr. Dufault?
Yes.
Mrs. Story?
Yes.
Mr. Wells?
Yes.
Mr. Wood?
Yes.
Mr. Zimmerman?
Yes.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank you.
Oliver.
Thank you. Communication.
So the early part of this video is what we discussed earlier, is a look at how the absence reporting forms will work. It shows you both what the form looks like itself, and it'll show you what happens behind the scenes when someone submits an absence form. It does have sound, so I'll let me from 4 days ago take it away. Hello! This video is to inform you about the new absence reporting form coming to our district. On Tuesday, September 17th, this form will go live on www.nrschools.org for all 4 of our buildings. It is designed to help speed up the process of parents reporting absences to their child's buildings, while also reducing the number of inbound calls during an already busy time. The Google form has simple questions for parents and guardians to fill out. They must first input an email address that corresponds to an address on file with the district. After that, further information like the student's name, grade level, and the date of the absence is required. A reason for the absence is also required. The list of available absence includes all reasons currently approved by the Board of Education, as well as a catch-all other option just in case. Any submitted form can be viewed in its entirety within the Google form itself, but once an absence is submitted, it will automatically be entered into a Google spreadsheet. This spreadsheet has a timestamp on the left-hand side which shows the exact date and time of the absence request. All of the other previously discussed information is also visible on this sheet. Email addresses submitted with the request must be verified on the child's account. Absences are color-coded to the past 4 days, with the days of absence being colored green, then yellow, orange, and red. After an email address is verified with the child's account, checking the box on the left-hand side will turn the timestamp black and white to help differentiate absences that have been verified from ones that haven't. We understand that this is going to take some getting used to, so please don't hesitate to reach out to me or your building principal with any questions. Thank you. That email and that video was sent out to all of our secretaries today. So they should now know what's coming. I've been answering questions off and on throughout the day. The biggest questions that I've had are, why do we have to verify the emails? And we want to make sure the kids aren't just reporting themselves absent. So the way that it works is you can, right? We want you to put in an email that is associated with the child's account. The kids may know one of those, they may not. You have to verify that email. Even if you do verify that email, they will still get the absence call through ThrillShare. Verifying the email and excusing the absence does not take them off of that list. So you will still get a call saying your child has missed school. If you reported them, absent and excused, please ignore this call. If you have filled out our online form, this is why you're getting this call. I have to change the wording on that because the form's not live yet, so it's not in the call yet. But we wanted to make sure that there were at least 2 safety valves in place to make sure that that wasn't abused. There was one other thing I wanted to say, but hopefully it comes back to me. Do you guys have any other questions?
Yeah, Garth, I just saw that one of the reasons for absence was the Bengals. Is that
So
permissible in
yes,
our district?
that I believe falls under other, and the other one is a catch-all for superintendent's discretion.
I was just recovering.
Well, trying to be a killjoy here.
I was just recovering, Rob.
Just saying.
That was
just
actually
saying.
last Monday after the game against.
Just saying.
Yeah, I was fine today.
So Garth, I mean, a lot of people are familiar with Google Forms. The spreadsheet that you had up was a Google Sheet. Is
Mhm.
that what the secretaries are using to verify, just so parents
Yes.
understand? They're not gonna see that Google
No,
Sheet,
no.
nor are they gonna see any information of any other child that's been submitted in the district. That's all.
The only thing that the secretaries will see is the form itself in case any questions need changed, or in the Google Sheets. The Google Sheet itself is not public. The form will be embedded on the website and linked to the homepage of each of the buildings. And there will be a separate, I just finished it before we walked into this meeting, there's a separate splash page for attendance going live on the district website with links to all of this, the numbers to call and report absences and things like that. All of that will go live tonight after this meeting.
Well done. Well done.
Thank you, sir.
So there's still about another minute and a half in this video. What you're about to see are
Sure. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead.
yeah, well, you're about to see our athletic photos from the first couple months of the season,
Oh.
but we'll start with some of the safety day stuff. We touched on this a little bit earlier, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it. These are from the fire demonstrations at Monroe earlier today, and the CPR demonstrations. I was at a safe distance during the fire demonstration. There's no need to worry. So for athletics, football, about midway through the fall sports season, believe it or not, the football team is 4-0, first place in the American Division. There's a region of about, let's see, a couple hundred teams to the southwest-ish district. It goes up to Dayton and out east. New Richmond is one of 24 teams left out of all of those teams that are still undefeated. Homecoming this week, Friday night. Tyler Bartley is 5th in the sacks in the league. Silas Jacob 4th in tackles. That photo right there is from the first game when we honored our state champions, Grant Harrison and the 2 other track members that went to state this past spring. Volleyball is currently leading the SBAC at 9-4 overall. They are undefeated in league play. You'll see some photos from their games this past weekend in a minute. Ella Hayden is 2nd with 116 kills in the SBAC. They have a very important home match tomorrow against Western Brown at 6 p.m. Boys soccer is, I believe, on the court or on the field right now at Claremont Northeastern. They're 1-9 overall, but junior Sebastian Barnes is tied for 4th in the SBAC with 4 assists. Girls soccer is also in action right now. I think they're that way across the parking lot against Scott High School from Kentucky. They're 3-3 in the league, 3-7 overall. They had a 6-0 win earlier this season, where Harley Mason had a hat trick. New Richmond is at Western Brown tomorrow night. They host Goshen next week. So a couple other sports that I don't quite have photos for yet, but I will. Cross country ran at Bethel this past weekend. Middle school girls took 3rd, led by Zoe Arcus and Kinsley Carmack. Middle school boys were also 3rd, led by Ezekiel Robinson. Elizabeth Houserman took 8th for the Lady Lions varsity team. Izzy Dufall was 18th overall in the varsity run. Ben Nikolov won the boys race. He was 4 seconds off his fastest time of the year. And Braden Hatfield took 19th. The Lions finished 3rd in the team standings for that one as well. The final 3 sports, girls tennis, girls golf, boys golf, all have conference tournaments this week. Girls tennis is at Wilmington on Thursday. They're 12-3 overall, 6-3 in the league. And they have Wilmington this afternoon in their final league match. They have a 6-match win streak heading into that game with Wilmington. If you can't catch them at the tournament up in Wilmington, it's a bit of a drive. They have road matches at Anderson and West Claremont next week, which are a little bit closer. Girls golf has one more round of the tournament left on tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. They are at Eagles Nest. It's a great place to watch golf. I don't know if you've been there yet or not. And I'm not just saying that because they like me enough to give me a golf cart and let me drive around. Boys golf is going to be at Eagles Nest for their final 18-hole tournament on Thursday. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Good job. Thank you.
Okay. Adjournment, any motions for adjournment?
Also moved.
Sorry, Mr. Dufall with the second. Roll call?
Mr. Dufall?
Yeah.
Yes.
Mrs. Story?
Yes.
Mr. Wells?
Yes.
Mr. Wooden?
Yes.
Mr. Zimmerman?
Yes.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.